Okay, before we keep going, I did notice that the floors, 3 floors today and the 22 over here need to be touching this right guide. So let's go ahead and open up our main content and then open up our right climb to top content. I'm just going to grab 22, then I'm going to hold control and grab today. And then I'm going to hold control and grab 3 floors. So that'll grab only the layers that we hit control select. And I'm just going to drag all 3 of these while holding shift to the right. Make sure they are right up against there. And appears the 22 needs to go by itself a little bit. And that's about right. There we go. So now that those are touching, I want to close this folder really quickly and then go back up and open the reference layer. You'll notice that we have to do another dotted line, another solid line, and then these numbers. And we're going to do those 3 things, and then we'll get into this little, the flights climbed actual analytics. So let's zoom in really quickly, and I'm going to hit Control plus and zoom way in. You'll notice that this is a light yellow dotted line. Well, if we go in all the way, and I'm going to go into 3200 pixels, you'll notice that it is 6 pixels in width and only 1 pixel in height, and then there's a 3 pixel space. So let's keep that in mind. We're going to create this exact same line. So I'm going to zoom back out and I'm going to hide this reference. Okay. And let's go ahead and create a new guide, and we're going to put it exactly where that last line was, and I happen to have written that down. So let's go down 635 pixels, and we're going to make sure that this is a horizontal guide. Excuse me, and select OK. And that's where this dotted line is going to go. And before we add this, let's go ahead and add one more guide, and that's going to be the guide for the line below this, the other solid line. And this one's going to be 771 pixels down. And there we have the guide for our second line. So let's go in here, and remember how I said it was 6 pixels by 1 pixel? Well, I'm going to zoom way in here on this guide that we just dropped down. You know what, I'm going to go even further. I'm going to go all the way into 3200, and I'm right at the intersection where this line needs to start. And I'm going to grab my line tool and make sure the weight is selected to 1. And I'm going to grab the yellow color that we need. So let's get the color picker, and let's change this color to FFC47C. And this is going to be this light orange yellowish color, and this is going to be the color of our line. Oops. Okay. And I'm just going to select fill. All right, so let's draw this and make sure the weight is 1 pixel. And I want this to, I want this to be right here. So just select right at the bottom of the pixel that you want it on. And I'm going to drag this 4, 5, 6 pixels to the side. So I have 6 pixels by 1 pixel. Awesome. So I'm just going to rename this shape, and I'm going to call this dash, because this is a dash line. So we remember that we need a 3 pixel space in between these. Well, if we just Control or Command J, duplicate dash, let's grab our move tool, and while we're holding shift, we have to be holding shift. Let's just drag over 1 space, 2 space, and 3 pixels in between. That's awesome. So let's copy dash copy, and let's do that exact same thing. Make sure that we have 3 pixels in between, and let's do this a few more times. So I'm going to do it once. Make sure there's 3 pixels, and we are pixel perfect right now, and 3. So now that we've done that, you can imagine we're zoomed in at 3200. If we zoom out, look how far we would have to go, and this is just a tiny section. Well, there are different ways we could have done this. We could have created a new brush preset, and from there we could have, drawn this individual shape right here, created a brush preset, changed the spacing settings, and used the brush tool. But I like to do this just to make sure that this is absolutely perfect. It's what the screen we're copying looks exactly like. And instead of just doing that every time, I want you to grab dash, the first layer, and then scroll up to the last copy we made, dash copy 5, and hold shift and select all of these. And we're simply going to right click and click merge shapes. Now these are all going to be one shape, and I'm going to rename this dash again. And if we duplicate this now, Control J, we can now drag this to the side and do all those at once, and you'll see I still have that 3 pixel space. And I'm just gonna, do that again. And we have the 3 pixel space, and I'm just gonna do that one more time. Make sure I get the 3 pixel space, and we can zoom out again. And from here, I'm just gonna do exactly what I did. Dash, hold shift, grab the last copy. Let's merge these shapes and let's call it dash. And you know the drill. I'm going to zoom out even further, and I'm just going to command control copy this and drag it to the right. I'm actually going to zoom back in really quickly and make sure that I have the correct spacing. There's the correct space, and all I have to do is merge these 2 layers. Let's merge the shapes. Let's zoom out. And you can see, like, now we still need to do 3 of those. So I'm just going to Control J, zoom in, drag this all the way down, drive the appropriate space, 3 pixels. I'm going to do it one more time, merge shapes, Control J, and that ought to be enough. So I'm going to drag this holding shift all the way down and make sure I have the correct spacing. There it is. And I'm just going to control copy this one more time. Nope, it's not quite gonna get us there. We're close, but no cigar. And let's do one more. Alrighty. Oops. I'm just gonna make sure that I have this lined up properly. Okay, so we can now merge all these dashes. And that was kind of a long-winded way of doing it. And I understand that, but I also want you to understand there's no one way to do things. And let me just merge these shapes. There's no one way to, get that dotted line. You could have done it a bunch of different ways. There's more efficient ways, there's less efficient ways. I wanted to make sure that we had the exact correct spacing and that this was going to be, perfect. So I do want to quickly zoom in here, and I'm just going to delete the right side of this. So let's rename this dash. And with that layer selected, let's grab our rectangular marquee tool, and let's just grab this line right here. Oops. And I'm going to make sure we rasterize this layer. There we go. Now we can just delete that, and we have our dotted line. So kind of a long-winded way of doing it, but we have the perfect exact same spaced and size dotted line that the actual screen has. So let's come down here and just create a solid line this time. No dots. It'll make things a lot easier. I'm going to zoom in, and I'm just going to get right here on the corner, make sure I'm selected, and then we can drag all the way down, and obviously I'm zoomed way in, so it's going to take a second. Alright, and I'm going to make sure I hold shift and make sure this is a straight line, and it's perfectly straight. So if we zoom in even further, let's make sure that we are touching the line, and I'm 1 pixel above the guide, so I'm just going to drag it down. There, now I'm in the perfect spot, and we need to change the color of this line, so I'm just going to double click this shape that we just drew and select color overlay, and this line color is going to be, just type this in, FF986C, and it's this orangish color, and let's select OK and OK. And now we can finally just put in a little bit of text and then draw the analytics to this. So below this, we're going to put in the text on the calendar. And let's start by grabbing our text tool. And let's just drag this out. And I'm going to do December 1st. Okay. And let's change this color. So I want you to highlight this text. And we're going to grab the color tool. And we're going to do FFBEAC. FFBEAC, and it's going to give us this peach color, which is the color in the app. So now that we have that selected, I want to do something really quickly. And I want to zoom out a little bit, and I want to pull out the reference really quickly. And what we're going to do, whoops, I apologize. And what we're going to do is use our guide to get the very center of each of these circles, because these circles line up exactly with these numbers. So if we just grab our guide out here, let's just drag it out, put it right there in the center, and we're going to do that for all of these. So I'm going to do that again, get pretty much right in the center. Let's do that for each circle. So I'm going to grab this one, make sure I'm right in the center, and you'll notice that these are lining up with these numbers, which is why we're doing this. And let's grab this one, pretty much in the center. You know, it doesn't have to be too exact. And I'm just going to get the last couple. That looks fine. Like I said, it doesn't have to be exact. Just make sure you're right around the center so we know where to put these numbers. And the last one, just grab this guide. Boom. All right, so now we can see where our numbers need to go. And I'm going to really quickly drag December 1st above so I can get started. Let's drag this so it's over this December 1st. And we can hide this layer. And from here, we know where to put our numbers. So let's go ahead and duplicate December 1st. I'm going to hover over it and change it to a 2. And then grab my move tool, and while holding shift, just drag this and make sure it's centered on that line. And we'll do that again. Control J, duplicate the layer. And let's change this to a 3. And you guys can guess what we're going to do next. Let's duplicate this layer. And let's keep going down the line. Let's do 4 here. Grab your text tool, make it a 4. Control J, Command J, duplicate. Oops. Do it right about there. Change it to a 5. Duplicate. 2 more. Let's just do this really quickly. Okay, we have our 6. And let's do the last one. Control J. And we have a 7. So obviously some of this is a bit repetitive, but it's what you have to do if you want to recreate each individual element. And then I do recall there was one other letter number right here. I'm going to duplicate this 7 really quickly. Let's do Control J, and I'm going to drag this up here. And really quickly, let's look at our reference. Yeah, there's a 3 right here. So let's change the 7 to a 3 really quickly. And I'm just going to drag this right up here and make sure it's, you know, where it needs to be. I can go ahead, rehide this layer. And now I'm going to grab all of these letters these numbers that we just created and hold shift to select them all. Now let's right click. And I want to make a group out of this, so I'm actually going to come up to Layer, New, Group from Layers, and let's just call this numbers/date. Okay, so we now have that all in its folder. Let's drag this down and put it back in our main content so that we can have everything organized. And let's zoom out. Okay, perfect. So we have a bunch of guides on the page. That's okay. We'll hide that at the end, but for now, it's coming along very well. It'll actually speed up the other 2 modules by having all this put together, and we can finally create the analytical part of these flights climbed, which is actually going to be the most fun, the coolest part to create and see come to life.